Our guest tonight was nominated for an Independent Spirit Award, and he was named Best Supporting Actor by the National Board of Review just this week. Please welcome Will Forte. Okay, Will, you know, the first question is always sort of a cliche, but it's a good one. So, how did this come about for you?
It kind of came out of nowhere. I was told about the script by my agent, Joe, and read the script, thought it was beautiful, connected with the character, and just thought that there was very little chance that I would be able to get the role, but I still thought, you know, what the heck, I might as well give it a try. And you know, I was sitting around playing a lot of computer games at the time, so I can carve out a little bit of time to do this. And God, thank God I did, because it's been just the most amazing experience. But it just really came out of nowhere.
Okay, so how long between the time that you auditioned for the role did you actually find out that you got it? How did you find out, and what was your reaction?
Well, I put myself on tape. That was the very beginning, and sent the tape off, and then for like 4.5 months didn't hear anything. I assumed when I sent off the tape that nothing was going to come of it anyway, so I wasn't spending any time ruining this scenario. So after the 4.5 months. Another out of the blue thing happened. Alexander Payne calls, or somebody called from his office to tell my agent that he liked it enough to call me in person. So I came in and I did the scenes in person with him, and then about a month later got a call from him on my home phone. I was really very nervous, and he said I got the part, and it was the most exciting phone call of all time. It just and a little terrifying too, because it was then at that point I had to just get out of my head. You know, I never wanted that period to end in between finding out about getting the job and actually having to start the job. I was really excited to tell people, oh, I got cast in this Alexander Payne movie. And I didn't want to, you know, get to that part where you had to say, yeah, I think I'm fucking this movie out. But yeah, my mom happened to be with me, so we had this wonderful mother-son moment where we got to, you know, jump around and be excited. Yeah.
See, listen, I mean, it's obviously because of your background in comedy, but this is a very big deal to make the transition from comedy to drama and really have the audience go with it. Sometimes they don't, and it's, you know, only a few actors have really had success at that. I mean, Jim Carrey did in some cases. But, I mean, you've really pulled off David so well. Like, what was it about David that you really connected to?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's closer to who I am in my own personal life than anything I've ever done. That's not saying much, because most of the things I've done in my life have been, you know, in comedy have been just bonkers. A bunch of it, you know, sex offenders, and you know, so I'm not a sex offender in real life. So it just, you know, it's but the good and the bad of this character registered with me. There are relationships I had with family members that were that were similar to relationships in here. But the main one that helped me out was my grandpa on my mom's side. Was a man of very few words, and so I had experience with that kind of communication and the patience that it takes and the frustration that can be there, but you know, the underlying love that's there at the same time. So that really helped out.
Okay, so working with Alexander Payne, I mean, I really love his movies about Schmidt, Election, The Descendants. and Sideways, definitely. What is it about Alexander Payne that makes him different from other filmmakers you work with, and what did you learn from him?
Well, I mean, I have really done a lot of things with kind of newer people who haven't really had established track records in comedy stuff, and so this was a person. This is the first time I got to work with like a hero of mine. So that was very intimidating. What did I learn? I mean, I learned so much. He is fascinating to watch, and he is very confident. He knows exactly what he wants. He's very relaxed also, so he's unflappable, and that just bleeds into everybody else on the set. So it's a really pleasant atmosphere. But at first, we'd get to the end of a scene, and I would think that maybe we were moving on because we had to get to the next scene, and so I'd say, did you like, are you sure you got it? Was that okay? And he would say, I would not be moving on if I didn't get it. And at first I just thought, he's just saying that to be nice to me. But then you realize he really is, he just knows when he gets what he wants, and so he'll just keep going until he knows he has it. And so sometimes you'll go for a bunch of takes, and sometimes you'll do one take, and that's it. And that's once you trust that, once you realize that that's how he works, you feel very protected, because you're in very good hands, and he's not going to, he's going to stay there until he gets what he wants.
Yeah. Okay, now tell me about the very first time you met, wait for it, Bruce Dern.
Jeez. We went to, I had never met him. I got the job, and then Alexander told me that he was playing Woody, and that was very exciting. And then we went to a steak dinner, and it was so exciting. But a little nerve-wracking, because Alexander and Bruce have this very shared knowledge of film history, and they know all these wonderful old movies that I don't know anything about, and they can tell you these very peripheral characters that are in the movies, and they know all their backgrounds, and so they're gabbing about all this stuff the whole time. It's fascinating to listen to, but I was thinking, how am I going to be able to, because I know about the broken lizard guys, and, so that was the first meeting with him, and he is just a magical person. He's a wonderful storyteller, and so fun and kind of gruff in a very lovable way, but also just very sweet. We got to be very, very close while we were making the movie, but at first I was just like with every part of this, I was very intimidated, and so the only time that we saw each other before going to Nebraska was at that steak dinner, and then when we showed up to make the movie, we had about a week of rehearsal time, which really we didn't rehearse at all. We just spent time together and bonded as people, and so by the time we got going, we all felt very comfortable around each other, and all these insecurities about, am I going to figure out how to work my way into these conversations, that stuff all went away, because it's now, it soon very quickly became effortless, communicating with all of them.
Well, let's talk about the rhythm that you established with...
I'm sorry, it wasn't interesting enough.
Man.
That's the question.
You're missing the best part here,
The answer.
They were just getting to the sex scene, which was cut. But tell me about you know, the rhythm with Bruce, and you know, you talk about spending time with him for that week to establish a relationship with him, so you feel more comfortable filming.
Yes.
Like, what did you guys do, like to get to know each other, and when did you really feel like you were comfortable with that rhythm? Because you know, Woody's kind of he's a tough guy, and he's very, very distant. So was Bruce? Was he Bruce, or was he Woody during that time?
Well, it was pretty amazing to watch him, because he wasn't in character when he was when the cameras weren't rolling. He would just be his own very vibrant, talkative. I mean, when I say talkative, this man is a talkative person. He is not ever silent, and it's wonderful. And he has the best stories. And then the cameras would start going, and he would morph into what you saw out there, and it was amazing to watch. Yeah, wait, what was the first part of the question? Because I got off track.
When did you like feel like you had a good rhythm with him going? That you knew that you were going to have a good rhythm with him?
Oh yeah, well, so it was. At first, it was just me listening a lot, and I was a little nervous around him. And then after a while, you know, I just realized, oh, why, you know, I just naturally started working my way into the conversations, and you know, would fire stuff back at him. And I don't know. Now I can't even imagine ever being nervous around him, because we just have this really, really wonderful relationship. He was so good to me. He was.
Did you go running with him?
So no, I didn't. We never went running, but I'm a runner, and he's a runner, and has, for those of you who don't know, he's been a long distance runner for years and years. He ran against Roger Bannister in college, and just has run forever. He told me this story once about showing up in Los Angeles and with this group of guys, and they just said, "Oh, let's run to San Diego today." And they would just run down to San Diego, or he can do these 100-mile races, and he just has run his whole life, so he still gets out there and runs every day. And he's a pretty amazing person.
True story about, as far as him being talkative. You know, at the junket, I did the interview with you and with Bruce and with June and Bob, and they give you 8 minutes during this time to ask whatever you want. And I asked Bruce Dern one question, and he gave me an 8-minute answer. And they're like wrapping me up, and I'm like, look, it's not me, you know, it's him. But
because you had an eight-minute slot. If you had a half-hour slot, you still would have. Yeah.
I still have just had one question. But let's talk about filming, you know, on the road, and like how many production days did you have, and did you film chronologically in order, or did you film out of sequence, which is pretty typical?
It was out of sequence. We started in Nebraska. Every location was true to what you see up there. If it was in Nebraska, everything was in Nebraska. So we started in Nebraska, though, so the stuff that you see at first in Billings came at the very end. Yeah, it was about 6 weeks in Nebraska. We finished probably, what's the date today? The 9th? We finished maybe exactly a year ago.
Wow.
No, a year ago, December 12th, maybe. So 6 weeks leading up to Thanksgiving in Nebraska, then went to Billings for about a week and a half, 1 day in Wyoming, and then 3 or 4 days in South Dakota. And the last week, after all the dialogue stuff was completed, Alexander had purchased the RV that Jack Nicholson drove around in About Schmidt, and he somehow strapped a camera to the front of the RV, and then we did that whole journey from Billings down into Nebraska. They filmed Bruce and I driving the Subaru down that path. So it was a really wonderful way to end this experience, because all the pressure was off, all the hard work was done, and we just hang out and talk and drive all day. It was was really fun.
Well, I want to open up to the audience. If you have questions, please raise your hand. But before, one more question I have for you is, the movie was in Cannes, and it opened in select cities in October, and it's going wider. So with all the things that or the reactions you've got at screenings and the reviews that you've read, I'm sure, or reviews that you got from people who saw the movie, I'm sure it's got to be a great feeling to see it so well received, but is there anything that sort of stuck out at you, something that someone said to you, something that someone wrote, that you just went, oh boy, that really just made my day?
I am not used to getting good reviews, so it's been really exciting. The thing that really sticks out is I've put my family through a lot of stuff. They're so supportive and they're wonderful, and I've just done some weird, disgusting things, and they've brought all their friends. They've lost friends because of MacGruber. Like they made all their friends go see MacGruber. They really have lost friends. They were not friends in the first place. But I had this, it's really fun to get to share something like this with them. And my grandpa, who's still alive, he's 95. Not the one I was talking about earlier, but the grandpa on my dad's side it's been really fun because I know that they're a little more conservative that side, and it was a little harder for them with their friends with some of those things, and it's been it's been a really nice experience. Like the movie just opened in Naples, Florida, and they were able to go with their friends, and all their friends really liked the movie, and it was nice to erase the images of MacGruber from my grandpa's friends. That was a really special one.
Okay, who's got? So, sorry, you have a question. Nice and loud, please.
I just want to say I'm a huge fan, and that I'm more of a three-wire guy myself too. But I was wondering, was it hard to not milk those comedy moments in the movie and kind of focus more on the dramatic side? Because there's so many parts in that movie that you could have easily just kind of gone really over the top, and since it's a drama, you have to kind of.
Question is, was it hard to stay focused on the serious side and not sort of run off in a sort of comedic side?
Well, the script is so well written, and the tone of it is so clear as you read it. There were times it was hard, specifically with times when my character would be telling what seemed like a joke. I wasn't sure. Oh, am I supposed to hit this joke like I know how to tell a joke, or it was this weird zone of, and then after a while I just realized, oh, just get out of your head and just kind of be in the moment. And that's what Bruce would always say, is just be in the moment, find the truth of the scene. And at first it just sounded like all this actor hogwash stuff, but it really did register after a while, and I just realized, oh, just say the words and don't overthink everything, and just react in a real way to these people. And Bruce and June and Stacy Keach and Bob Odenkirk, they just make it really easy to be in the moment because they're so good. They're just such great actors that you get sucked into the moment.
How awesome
it was at first something that was on my mind quite a bit.
How awesome is June Squibb in this movie? She's awesome.
And she's just it's such a testament to their acting skills, because just like with Bruce and how different he is from the character he plays in this, June is a delightful, sweet woman. She's so good, and also she plays the wife of Jack Nicholson in About Schmidt, who dies very early. Well, spoiler alert. But very, very early in that movie, and it's so different from this character, and so different at the same time from who she is in real life. She is an amazing actress. Yeah.
Who's got a question, sir?
Yeah, you said this character was a lot closer to who you are in real life compared to what you've done in the past. Do you
Yes.
the more sketch comedy like SNL or the MacGruber style of acting, or is this more something you enjoy?
Oh man, I love it all. This was an experience I never thought I'd get to have. It wasn't I was not sitting there going, I gotta get my hands on a drama. I gotta, not that I didn't ever want to do it. I just didn't really give it much thought. It was also coming at a time when it wasn't like I'm a heavily sought after person. I'm a proven box office non-commodity. So it just came out of nowhere. To get a role in this kind of movie, even a small supporting role would have been an amazing experience. But to get to do something which is such an integral part of the movie was just
meant to
the
be.
most exciting. I would have never thought I'd get a chance in my lifetime.
Who else has a question? Yes, you.
What's the director's style like? Was there much improvisation or pretty much as written?
Was there a lot of improvisation, or did it go as written?
It was as written completely. I think there might be 5 words that are not on the script, and they were all just actor screw-ups that he might have liked in editing. But yeah, the script, he just gets it to a place, right, the place that he really likes it, and any improv would have just done a disservice to the script.
Who else? Yes, you.
I'm interested in the casting of all the family members and all those people. Were they local, or were they?
Yeah, were the family members local? They were non-actors, a lot of these people.
It was a big combo, but a lot of non-actors, like the Westendorfs were a retired farming couple. In the scene with all the brothers, when they're watching the football game and they're talking about the truck, the guy over here sitting on the couch is Rance Howard, Ron Howard's dad. And then the guy in the foreground who was fielding all the questions, and he was a retired farmer who had never acted before. The woman, when the fight between Bob and one of the cousins happens, that the woman, what do you think when you got the bee in your bonnet to open up that store? Never acted before. She's great. The 2 cousins. One of them has acted a tiny bit, but is basically, I believe, an electrician in Omaha. The other of the 2 cousins is a guy who was Buzz in Home Alone. And so a lot of people think they're twins, but they're not. And it was this wonderful mixture of people with a ton of experience and no experience at all, and a lot of times you can't even pick out who's the people who with no experience give such authentic performances that I learned a lot from them. Also, I learned almost as much from them as I did from all the Bruce and everybody. That might seem like I'm saying I didn't learn a lot from Bruce. I learned an incredible amount from Bruce. Bruce was, I've said it before, but he could not have been better to me. He was so patient. He was just this wonderful friend and guide. He was great. And Alexander the same way.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, one more question. It's got to go. Yes, you.
Did he talk about why he chose to do it in black and white?
Yeah, why did he choose to do it in black and white? Good question.
I've heard him answer this question a bunch of times, and it's always just that the moment he read the script, it just came at him in black and white. It just was never a question. For some reason, he doesn't go into it much more than that. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer. But you know, since then he talks about how he thinks that it helps the story in that you know it adds a kind of a timeless quality to
Does feel
it,
timeless.
and
Does feel timeless because of
you
that.
know, with the it's this. Okay, never mind. You gotta ask him. I've just learned from that. You gotta ask him. I'm horrible at.
Well, Nebraska is in
bad
theaters
memory.
now, and you know there's a lot of movies out there. So in order to get people to see it, spread the word of mouth, and word of mouth these days is on social media. So see the film, you love it. Go on Facebook, go on Twitter. I don't know if you're still using MySpace. No, but just make sure you spread the word about
We're just making a
Nebraska.
ton of phone calls.
Yeah, make a ton of phone calls.
Write a bunch of letters, handwritten letters.
Ladies and gentlemen, Will Forte.
Thank you for coming tonight.